Okay, amazing. Hi everyone. Very warm welcome here. Hello everyone. I'm Vidhi here, Vidhi Agarwal this side, and welcome to today's session. Very warm welcome to all of you. Wow, I see that we have a very excited batch, very excited group of folks today. Great. So I'm just sharing my screen. Let me know if this is visible. Can you all hear me completely fine? You can see my video completely fine. And you can also see what I'm presenting on the screen, right? Awesome. I would love all of you to be interactive on the chat box. And I see that all of you are already typing in a lot of things. So, welcome to today's session, everyone, on presentation with AI. All right. And I just want you to today sit back, relax, and interact on the chat. Of course, I would want to keep this session two-way. While I will take you through some really powerful concepts, very smart frameworks, and like some live tool demos as well, some AI tool demos as well in the session. So let's quickly get started. All right. Are you all excited for today's session? Are you all excited? Great. All right. So before we jump into the concepts, right, I want you all to be comfortable with who your trainer is and why you should be even learning this topic from me, right? You folks are going to give me the next 2 hours of your life. You're going to be learning some concepts from me. But it's very important to know who your trainer is, whether they're credible enough, whether they're even, let's say, qualified enough and they know a little bit more than you do in a certain topic. So let me just tell you why you should be learning this particular topic, which is presentations with AI from me, which is Vidhi, right? So, folks, I have about 6 to 7 years of experience across strategy, analytics, C-suite communication, all of that. And I have been a consultant at McKinsey and Company for 2 years. So if you've heard of McKinsey or you probably would know what consulting firms do. We are basically solving a lot of problems for clients day in, day out, and creating a lot of executive presentations to solve some real business problems, right? And we have to pitch our strategic ideas and, influence CXO stakeholders just using slides, decks, PowerPoints. I will use these words interchangeably in today's session. So I have been a consultant and I've created and delivered over 100 presentations, right? Executive presentations to C-suite clients. So that was kind of my bread and butter, right? Churning out decks every day for a good 2 years. I did that. And prior to that, I have also been a data analyst at Citibank. So, data analyst can sometimes be slightly technical role, but I was like the go-to person in my team who would be asked to create the presentations and create the slides. And my team would be like, okay, we're gonna do all the coding and we're gonna do all the analysis. And why don't you, Vidhi, do the presentation part of it? So I used to love doing that. I was the go-to person in my team. So I had a knack. I kind of have a passion for this topic. Talking about my educational background, everyone. So I have done my MBA degree from the Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. And prior to that, I've done my economic honors from Lady Shri Ram College in New Delhi, right? So what I'm doing right now, by the way, is I'm working in the founder's office of the parent organization where you folks have enrolled for your course, right? So today at B10X at House of EdTech, we've built a huge AI first community, right, for future ready working professionals and educators, right? So I have in my life turned data, turned ideas, turned strategy into visual stories so that we can drive impact. And like just generally speaking, that's about me. But believe you folks me, I've made some mistakes you folks have made while creating presentations, and I've found shortcuts I wished I knew earlier, right? So I've seen how AI can really like massively boost productivity and polish your slides and polish your presentations. And today I want to share all of that with you, and I'm really excited, right? So why don't you all now tell me which field you all are from. So I've told you a lot about me, but I would love to know about you as well. So why don't you tell me which field you folks are from? Are you like a student, or are you from the banking space? Which space are you from? Okay, business marketer, IT, PMO, HR, IT, finance, engineering, telecom. Okay, the chat is buzzing. Can't read out all of it. So, but I'm glad that all of you are interacting here. So, you could be from any field, honestly. You could be a consultant today who is designing decks like for client insights. You could be a marketer, right? You could be a marketer who's wanting to pitch their campaign or form some story in their slides. You could be from IT, as a lot of you are telling me that you are from IT. So you could be from IT, and usually there's a stigma that IT professionals may not know very well how to create presentations, but that's not true. Today in the world of AI, you can do it in clicks, right? So you can very easily, being an IT professional or a software developer, if required, present technical concepts to business folks using some very quick PPT tools and AI tools, right? Because that is sometimes, fortunately, unfortunately, the language of business. You could even be from the BFSI space. So your quarter end earnings, your reports, your dashboards, all of that can be built in your PPT using AI. You could be from ops and supply chain, looking to probably build process flow diagrams. You could be from HR and L&D, like some of you told me. You might want to build training decks or strategy decks, right? You could be student, and as students, we sometimes do case competitions. We build projects in class. We probably are running an event for which we need to build a PPT. So I am sure that no matter which field you are from, right? No matter which field you are from, you will have something to take away from today's class. You could be a freelancer too, right? So I've kept this class in such a way that there is something for everyone to learn. I've tried to keep it a little generic, right? So I'm sure there is something for everyone to learn. But before we dive into the details of the class, I want you all to be comfortable with what the agenda for today's session is. Okay. You all should know what we're going to be learning in the next probably 1.5 to 2 hours. So let me tell you the agenda for today. The first 30 minutes of today's session, we're going to be deep diving into some insider tips from a consultant. No points for guessing who the consultant is. It's me. Okay. So we're going to be deep diving into some insider tips on how consultants are building presentations today. Okay. And another part in the first 30 minutes, which we'll cover, is how AI is solving presentation problems today. So I have in my career seen commonly what are some top problems working professionals and students are facing when it comes to creating presentations. And I want to discuss some of those problems with you and tell you what are some AI tools which can help solve those. Okay. And the remaining about 1 to 1.5 hours of this session, we're going to go into we're going to take a case example, okay, and see practically how AI tools come to life while creating presentations. So it's going to be about free demos and tools, and how you can turn your ideas into slides in minutes, if not seconds. And we'll also like do some other nuances which I would love to add in today's session, which is on fact checking, plagiarism detection, and how you can even generate speaker notes with AI, right? How you can practice delivery of your presentations and sessions using the help of AI. All right. So I hope everyone is okay with what we're going to discuss in the next 90 to 120 minutes. And one more disclaimer is that I want to keep the value per minute really high for today's session. Okay, everyone present here. There's a huge bunch of you present here today. So your questions can be addressed in the weekday Q&A session. So right now, I just want you to uh, just watch what I'm doing. Okay, follow what I'm doing, and all your questions can be addressed separately. Okay. So, moving on to the first part of the session, as I promised, is insider tips from a consultant. Okay. And who are consultants and what am I talking about, right? If you've heard of any of these companies, okay, you might yourself be working in one of these companies, but these are some of the top strategy consulting firms globally. right? We have McKinsey, BCG, and Bain, which are commonly clubbed as MBB. And we also have the big four, which also have that audit arm and then the consulting arm, which means EY, PwC, KPMG, Deloitte, all of these companies. Okay. So these are the top consulting firms. And whenever you join one of these firms, you are usually given a training on design tips, on PPT tips, right? Some very quick practical tips on how consultants design for impact. And I want to share some of those insider tips that I learned during my tenure. And I know those are very commonly available everywhere, but I want to summarize some of those learnings for you. So let's jump right into the insider tips, okay? What is the first tip? What are we talking about in the first tip? I We call it the pyramid principle, okay? The pyramid principle, which means that you follow a pyramid-like structure when you do your thinking. Okay? So you first lead your slide with the answer and then you prove it. Okay? It's called top-down thinking, which means that you start your slide with the final executive insight. You start your slide title and the first part of it with the recommendation. And then you move on to why you said what you said. Okay, then you move on to some supporting arguments, why you are saying what you are saying, how you want it to be implemented. And at the end, you support it with some data and some facts. Okay, why I'm saying this is important is because folks, consultants don't just like start with slides, okay? Or no matter which field you are in, you don't just start building slides from scratch. You need to first have structured thinking in place. Okay. So this idea, it's the pyramid principle that I'm talking about. It's about like answering the big question first, okay? And then you back it up with supporting data. So, like, just as an example, think of like Netflix, right? It wants to hook its viewers in the first 5 seconds. So when you log on to Netflix or any OTT platform, in the first 5 seconds, you're hooked onto it because there is so much. It tells you these are the things recommended for you, these are the things you can continue watching. It just hooked you on in the first 5 seconds. I want you to do the same with your slides. Hook people on in the first 5 seconds. And how do you do that? By having a very catchy um, caption. You lead with the answer and then you prove it, basically. Okay. And the next time you build a deck, I want you to like probably try writing your last slide, your last recommendation slide up first. Okay. So it kind of brings clarity to the thing. Try it out the next time. Okay. So that was the first tip, which we call the pyramid principle. The second tip I want to give to you, oh, by the way, for this tip, I would like to give you this example, is how you can see we've structured this slide, right? The heading is catchy. It is talking about the final recommendation. We can increase revenues by $120 million by entering the market for middle-aged professionals. Okay. This is your final recommendation, which in the sample we have put right on top as a caption of the slide. You led with your answer, right? That entering a new market will give you so much in revenue, will cost you so much, etc., etc. After you have given your answer, you support it with some high level insights, which are marked in the light yellowish orange boxes, right? The profit from our current market will decline. Middle aged is an attractive market. Digital marketing investment is required, etc., etc. And at the end, if you want, you can back it up with some more evidence and analysis and insights. Okay. So, this is how you follow a pyramid kind of thinking or a top down thinking. Okay. Amazing, right? The second tip, I like to call it the golden rule of clarity, which is very simple. Okay. Ideally, you should have just one key message in every slide. Okay. One slide, one message. If you ever face a situation where in your slide title you have to write, I recommend this and that and that and that, right? You're writing a lot of and in your titles. I want you to avoid that situation and instead break those two or three or four ideas into two, three, or four different slides, okay? Because I am someone who would strongly recommend you. It's better to have more slides than to have cluttered slides, okay, which don't make a lot of sense. So it's better to have, let's say, 10, 12 detailed out slides instead of 4 or 5 very cramped slides, okay? So the idea is that more the slides, less the clutter. And you should think about making your slides clear. There should be clarity instead of compressing it into 3 or 5 slides. Of course, there are exceptions to this case when you're building, let's say, pitch decks, etc. But largely, you should be breaking down your slides, and one slide should have ideally one message, okay? Keep your slides clear. The third tip is, and one of my favorites, okay, this is something I learned while at McKinsey, was that you should be turning your slide titles into executive insight, okay? Your PPT, the page title, it should be an executive insight, right? It should answer a question instead of just simply labeling a section. Now, what I want you folks to do is, if you can see my screen right now, tell me which one of the two images on my screen do you prefer? The left one or the right one? You folks can just see my screen. There are two images in this slide. Tell me which one you would have probably made or which one you prefer seeing. Is it the left one or the right one? Oh, okay. A lot of you are saying right one. Right one. Right. Okay. Awesome. I think 95% of you have said the right one. There's a bunch of you who've said the left one, but probably everyone agrees that it's the right one. Why do you say that the right one is something that attracts you more or something that you would have built? Why do you say that? Okay. It's clear, it's detailed, precise. Okay. Right, absolutely. So, what I'm trying to convey over here is that good titles will help your deck make sense even if you're not there to explain it, okay? The left one is just talking about marketing trends. The left picture is just talking about marketing trends, all right? The caption of the slide is marketing trends, that's it. However, on the right side, you see the picture, the slide. What is the caption? Email campaigns driving 50% of sales. Isn't it a much more catchier caption? Isn't the caption telling you more about the marketing trend? Email campaigns driving sales is, by the way, also a marketing trend. But I told you so much more about the marketing trend instead of just labeling the slide marketing trend, right? I gave you a catchy caption. I gave you an executive insight. I answered a question instead of just labeling the section, right? So the slide title is telling a story on its own. Okay. I'll let's do one more example. Again, you see two pictures on my screen. Tell me which one you prefer now. Is it the left one or the right one? Left one or right one? Right. Somebody's still saying left, right. Okay. Everyone majorly prefers the right one. And now you get it why. Because the left slide is just telling me overview. Okay, the slide title is just overview. It is plain, boring, outdated. The right one is telling me customer churn is rising 18%. AI can cut it in half. It is telling me so much more than just a simple overview, right? One last example for this tip, and then we move on to the next tip. Again, left or right. The left one is talking about update, and the right one is talking about refunds dropping 20% after personalization rollout. By now, I know that all of you prefer the right one, okay? No guesses. It's my personal favorite too. So we're just talking, comparing the slide captions. And now we commonly agree that slide captions should be telling a story on its own. So I want you folks to go back and pick one of your recent PPT titles, okay? If you have built any deck in the recent past, pick out any of your slide titles and see if you could have rewritten it better, if you could have made it into a story, okay? Go back to any of your PPTs from your workplace or something you've created, maybe a catalog or anything, right? And see if you could have labeled the section better. I'm sure you'll find a lot of scope for improvement there. Come on, now moving on to our next tip, tip number 4, and one of my personal favorites is that you don't bury your best insight. Instead, you highlight it. Okay. What do I mean by this? When I opened this slide, okay, when I opened this slide in front of all of you, tell me in the chat box, what is the first thing that stood out for you? What is the first thing that caught your eye when I opened this slide in front of all of you? Numbers, numbers, 28% header, three boxes, okay, numbers, $3.2 million, percentage change, absolutely. Absolutely. You have already understood what I'm trying to convey here, okay? And I'm absolutely loving the engagement in the chat box today, okay? You folks are a very bright bunch of audience. And really, really, thank you for engaging with me so much today. It keeps me motivated that you folks are understanding something and drawing value out of it, okay? So you folks saw that numbers, percentages, the white boxes stood out to you first, okay? It caught your eye first. So what I want you to do is the next time you have to highlight a number, or maybe you have to highlight a percentage or $1 million number, or maybe highlight a text, okay? Put it in a different colored box, increase the font size, put it in bold, especially for numbers. This tip works really well. I want you to box your key numbers or box your key codes so that they stand out in the slide, okay? What I like to believe is that if it's the number your boss will ask about first, call it out first, okay? Have it on top of your slide, have it out there popping out, okay? It could be a quote from your CEO or your um, client, or it could be from your director. It could be a very big number that you've done. It could be a percentage change, anything at all, right? Your best insight should be put in a different box and highlighted in a different way with a slightly bigger font, and you play around with fonts and everything so that you uh, make your best insight very catchy. Okay. The next tip, and now we move on to the visual parts. Okay. Now we move on to the visual principles. We're going to be talking about 8 tips in total today. We've already covered 4. The remaining 4 will be around visual tips that I will give to you. Okay. So what is this tip number 5 that we talk about? It is about substituting the bullet points. Okay. Now gone are those days when we would present in our PPTs one paragraph after another paragraph after another paragraph. Okay. We substituted our paragraphs with shorter lines, with bullet points, right? Now what I'm asking you, what I'm suggesting to you now is you substitute the bullet points as well. Okay. You can replace all of these text and your bullet points with visuals. What can you replace it with? You can replace it with icons. You can put it in a grid format. You can put it in flows, frameworks. Okay, you can put charts and graphs and pie charts and all of that. You can make process flows. So don't worry, I'll tell you which AI tools can help you build some of these icons and flows and frameworks. But example that, for example, your PPT's topic was benefits of automation. Okay, that's your PPT topic. And instead of writing 4 bullet points on 4 benefits of automation, isn't it just better to probably put it in a 2 by 2 grid? Okay, put it in a 2 by 2 grid with icons and everything. It looks a lot more visually appealing, right? So instead of putting bullets, you can put icons and grids and graphs, etc. Because I wanted to remember that people remember visuals more than they remember text and lists. Okay, people remember visuals. Always remember that. It's better to add icons and add visually appealing um, things to your PPT. It could be images even, rather than putting slides after slides after slides of text. Okay. So we'll of course do examples. Don't worry. We'll move to that. Let me just talk about the tips overall first. Tip number 6, something very simple, something that I know a lot of you might follow, but I still want to reiterate it over here, is that you should design to direct attention and not distracted, right? Your design should guide the eye. If you're putting things in bigger font, know that people are going to read that first. If you're putting things in bold, know that people are going to read that first, right? So if you want to emphasize something, if you want to state something important, it should be out there in big and bold. Okay. Your layout is actually quite important when you tell a story. Even white spaces are important, which means blank spaces in the slide are important. You need to give your slides breathing room instead of just cramming a lot of text and visuals, etc. on your slide. Now you will notice that in my slide here, I have left white spaces here. I've technically black spaces. I've left a lot of empty space in my slides. Okay. I have intentionally done that because it gives some breathing room in the slide so that you can focus on the key areas instead of just like reading text after text after text. And the slide itself takes you 5 minutes to read. You don't want to do that. Okay. Simple tip, right? Very simple. Moving on to tip 7. Okay. is about colors. Okay, how you should be making colors work for you instead of against you. Okay, you ideally do not want too much color on your slides also, because then it looks a little distracting, a little noisy. What I recommend is having a maximum of, let's say, 1 to 2 accent colors in your slide. Okay, so what are accent colors? These are bright contrasting colors which you use for highlighting. So can anyone tell me like what's the accent color I've used in this slide? Can anyone tell me what is the accent color I have used in this slide? Okay, orange, orange, red, orange, yellow, brown, orange, white, white, orange, white. Okay, so you're right. It's the orange color, right? I have used orange as an accent color in my slides to highlight things better. You can also use maybe 1 or 2 accent colors to make things stand out differently in the slide. Okay, so that is one thing. Second thing I want you to know is that if you're working for a company and they have a certain brand kit or brand template, you should stick to that. Okay, stick to your brand color, stick to your brand tones. um Usually in professional decks, in professional PPTs, we use slightly neutral tones and branded tones. If you are, let's say, from a slightly more creative background, let's say you're from marketing or something, it is acceptable to use slightly more brighter tones, funkier tones of colors. But typically, I would recommend sticking to brand colors and neutral tones in your decks. Okay. And the last thing in colors I want you to know is that you should use contrast to highlight. So, for example, in my slides, I have kept the background grayish black and the text I've kept as white and orange. Okay. So, I have used contrast to highlight, right? I've used white text on black slides. You can even do the same. You can use contrast to highlight that thing. Now, of course, if everything is popping out in your slide, then actually nothing is popping out. So you need to be careful about what it is that you choose to highlight in your slides. Okay. Clear? The last insider tip I want to share with all of you, it's super important and we sometimes forget it, is that you should design for the device. Okay. Now, how many of you are watching this on your phone right now? How many of you are watching my session on your phone right now? Okay, a lot of you are raising your hands. Me. I am okay. A lot of you are raising your hands also. I understand. Okay, I completely understand. I'm not going to scold you. It's okay. Just it's as long as you're watching and following, I'm completely okay with it. But what I'm saying here is that understand where your audience is. Okay, understand where your audience is. It is often more likely that your audience who is going to watch your PPT will be watching it from their phone. So you might have made the best slide with 10 executive insights on it and everything, but if you're watching it on a smaller screen of your phone, the design can sometimes feel a little overwhelming, right? So, it's okay if you're presenting in a boardroom and if you're watching it on a projector, or if you know for sure that your audiences or like the people are going to watch it on the laptops or something, it's completely okay. But more often than not, people actually join in from their phones or view your catalogs and your PPTs from their phones. And I recommend here that you should design for small screens. How do you do that? You use less than 20 words in your slide. Okay, like you will see in most of my slides, I have used less than 20-25 words. Okay, sometimes even less than 15 words I have used. That is number one. Number two, you should use bigger font sizes because in the phone the screens are smaller. I recommend at least having font size of 24. Third thing is sticking to one idea per slide, which is kind of consistent with one of my previous tips, right? That you stick to one idea per slide instead of cramming a lot of information into one. And one of the other things I have recommended earlier, and I would again recommend it for designing for the device, is using high contrast, like dark text on white or vice versa, right? So, so this is something you need to be mindful about. Now that we've covered all 8 tips, I am going to walk you quickly through all the 8 tips again. I'm going to summarize what we've learned in the last 20-30 minutes, okay? And then I want you to tell me which one of these 8 tricks do you think that you don't follow enough and you want to follow, or let's say that you really want to try any of these 8 tricks in the future, right? Let me summarize them very quickly for you. and then tell me which one of these you found the most useful, okay? Perfect. The first one we spoke about was the pyramid principle, right? Where you lead with the answer, do top-down thinking, and then you prove it with supporting data and facts. The second tip we spoke about was having clarity, which means having one message in one slide and not cramming it with too much information. The third tip we spoke about was how slide titles are really important, and you should be putting your executive insight in the slide title instead of just keeping a very boring caption like overview or update. The fourth tip we spoke about was that you shouldn't bury your best insight, but you should highlight it. Remember that slide we saw with the white boxes and the numbers and the percentages? You should highlight your best insight instead of just burying it in some bullet point. The fifth tip we spoke about was the bullet points, right? Instead of bullet points, I want you all to use visuals like icons, grids, process flows, graphs, images, etc., right? The sixth tip we spoke about was how you should be working for design to guide your eye, which means putting things in bigger font, bolder text, leaving white spaces on your slide. The seventh tip we spoke about was how you should make color work for you and not against you, where we spoke about accent colors, contrast colors, and using brand tones or neutral tones. And the last tip we spoke about was designing for the device, which means that you should be keeping in mind that sometimes people may join from smaller screens and your design, your PPT outline should be a little more convenient to read on smaller screens. Okay. So I hope everyone got a good summary of what we covered in the last half an hour. And I want you to tell me now in the chat box which one of these 8 tips did you find the most useful and you're going to use it the next time. Okay, put it in the chat box. Tip number 3, I will use all of these. 1, all, 1, 2, most of it, all. Number 5, 1, 8, all, 4. Okay, awesome. So I see 1, 3, 4, 5, and yeah, are the ones which are the highest number of takers. And then some of you said most of it and all. So I hope this part of the session was useful for all of you, right? I hope you found some value in these insider tips and tricks from me. Okay, now we move on to some problems that you folks might be facing when you create presentations. Okay, I want you to tell me in the chat box what are the top problems you face when you create a presentation. Okay, I am hoping that most of you might have created a presentation in the recent past, maybe last week, last month, last quarter. And I'm sure that it wasn't a seamless experience, right? We are here to learn something today. So, what might be the top problems you folks are facing? Visual design, templates, data visualization, designing, where do I start, condensing data, presenting facts in order, summarizing content, storytelling, time, content. Awesome. Understood. Okay. I'm going to tell you today that we can actually use AI tools to better these problems, okay? And I want AI to be your presentation partner after today's session. Now, why I'm saying this is important is again, let's say you have these 2 slides, okay, the left one and the right one. Which one would you want to present to your CEO? Tell me, the left one or the right one? The right one, obviously, right? And the right one was no points for guessing, generated by AI. So today, AI can help you get from the idea stage to your decks in a matter of minutes, right? It's not just a buzzword anymore. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to summarize whatever problems I saw you folks write in the chat box into top 5 presentation problems and how AI is helping solve them, okay? The first problem that I saw some of you write is I don't know where to start. And I like to call it the blank slide syndrome, okay? Because you're like, okay, so I have to create a presentation on the fintech landscape of India. And I don't even know where to start, okay? How do I generate the content? What is going to be my slide flow, the structure, right? Today, tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini can help you solution out your starting point in a very easy way, okay? Some prompts you can give to it is create a 5 slide pitch deck for something like sustainability solution and logistics, okay? And these tools can very easily, and I know that by now all of you are experts in using these tools. So you can just prompt it for something as simple as that. It can help you with some starting points. Second most common problem I have seen some of you write is I struggle to structure my thoughts. Okay, I feel like I'm messy. Slide 3 after that slide 4 is not making sense, Maybe slide 6 after slide 3 was making more sense. So today AI can help you organize some of these messy thoughts in your head into proper sequencing, proper storytelling, okay, something that some of you wrote, right? So ideally, the structure your slide should follow is you first state the problem, then the solution, and then how that solution is going to benefit, and then the final call to action for the stakeholder. Okay. Again, the same tools are going to help you with structurizing your thoughts, which is GPT, Perplexity, and Gemini. I'll also give you a pro tip. You can use before your prompt, you can use a role based prompt, something like act as a management consultant, act as a top think tank economist, act as a qualified CA with 10 years of experience using something, something, and 10 years of experience filing GST returns. Okay. So you can actually use role based prompts to structure your thoughts even better than that. All right. Um, then comes the third most common problem I see you folks face is that my slides look boring and outdated. Okay. I don't think that I create very visually appealing slides. Okay. Today, AI tools like Canva, Gamma, Napkin can help you with a lot of color schemes, ready-made templates, image suggestions, and all of that. Okay. And they're all AI powered today. Okay. Canva existed in the pre-Gen AI era, and today it is AI powered. So you can actually make your slides look much more visually appealing. And don't worry, we're going to walk through a lot of tool demos today to see how this will work out. The fourth most common problem I see that some of you face, and raise your hands if you face this problem, is I don't know how to talk about each slide, okay? I have presentation anxiety. Please raise your hands if you think that it is a common presentation problem you face. You have presentation anxiety. You don't know what I'm going to talk about in this slide. I am very happy creating the slide and letting someone else present it. Are you one of those? That I'm very happy. So I will create the slide, I will do an analysis, I will change it for you 10 times, but don't ask me to present it. I might not be the best person for it. Okay. Which means some of us have presentation anxiety, and no judgment zone here today. Okay. I myself have tried to overcome that. Okay. I myself have been in your shoes, and I know what it feels like to have those sweaty hands and those jitters before a presentation. So I'm also going to cover some AI tools which can help you prepare speaker notes better. Okay, so that you can script your presentation better, so that you can practice on video better. We're going to use tools like, again, GPT. We're going to use some text to speech tools. And we're going to use a tool called Udly, one of my personal favorites. We'll come to it at the end. Okay. So that was the fourth most common problem. And the last problem that I see some of you write is that there is a lot of time crunch. Okay. And I think that I take a lot of time to finish everything. Okay. I think I take a lot of time to create content, to make it visually appealing, to make it presentation ready, right? I think I am taking a lot of time. My boss or my leader wants me to do this in 2 days or 5 days, and I end up taking 2 weeks or 5 weeks to do it even. So the time part of it we can try to cover now, okay, in one of the common problems, and all of these AI tools together will help you do that. Now I want you to type in the chat box. Um, what is the last business deck that you created? Okay. It could be a business deck. It could be a deck you created as a student. But I just like generally want to know what are the kind of PPTs you folks are creating. Uh, Town hall, product deck, executive deck, technical presentation, business deck, marketing PPT, roadmap, operational deck. Awesome. Okay. I see that most of you have created decks in the recent past. A lot of it is around your job or profession itself. Okay. So today what we're going to do is we're going to take a sample case study. We're going to take mock example, and we're going to use that example for the rest of this session. For the remaining 1.5 hours, we're going to take that example and use it to do all the tool demos. Okay. Now, what is the example we're going to take today? Assume that you are an AI consultant, okay? Assume that you are an AI consultant and an e-commerce brand is hiring you to solve a very big problem that they are facing. What is that problem? Customers are leaving. All right. What you have been asked to do is create a 5 slide pitch deck to present an AI solution which reduces churn. All right. This is a sample case study we're going to take for the remaining sessions. So hear it out very clearly. If you've not understood it, I'm going to repeat it for everyone. Okay. Assume that you are an AI consultant, okay, and an e-commerce brand, lucky chap you are. An e-commerce brand has hired you to solve their problem of customer churn or customer retention. And because you're an AI consultant, of course, you're going to present an AI solution in just probably 5 or 6 slides, okay? It's a pitch deck, probably just 5 or 6 slides to help explain how you can reduce that churn. All right, so this is the scenario you have. Is everyone clear with what we're trying to achieve here? Is everyone clear with the example? Very simple example you've taken here, right? Now, what is the e-commerce brand you want to take as an example? Is it Nykaa, Myntra, Amazon? Which e-commerce brand do you want me to take as an example? Okay, Amazon, Myntra, Meesho, Snapdeal. Really? Nykaa, Amazon. Okay, perfect. We're going to go ahead with Amazon then. Okay. So we're going to assume that we're going to solve this problem of customer churn for Amazon using AI, and we're going to present it in a pitch deck. Now, what are the tools we're going to do today? Okay, we're going to cover about 9 to 10 tools today. And I just want you to watch with me right now. We're going to divide the rest of the session into 3 parts. The first part is going to be research and ideation. The first part of the tool demo is going to be research and ideation, where we speak about like your how you can use tools like Perplexity, Gemini, GPT, etc., which for your research work, for content creation, and all of it, right? The second part of today's session is going to be on design and assembly, which is the visual part of your PPT. We're going to use tools like Gamma, Canva, and Napkin AI to do this. The third part of today's session is going to be fact checking and speaker notes. Okay, this is something a lot of you might not know about, or you've not been taught about it much, or you don't usually use it. So it might be a value add to stay back till the end to see the fact checking speaker notes part of it, where we speak about how we can improve our delivery confidence and use tools like Perplexity, etc., for fact checking, and use text to speech tools and a tool called Udly for our delivery confidence. All right. Now, know that these are all free tools, okay? These are all, at least the basic version of these tools are free to use. These are all freemium tools, I would like to say, but the basic version is free to use for everyone. And I want you to be mindful that some of these tools may have limited credit sometimes, okay? Especially, let's say, the second stage of visual design and stage 3, maybe even. So, like these are free tools. Please try them out after today's session. At least the basic version should be good to go. So don't worry about it. I also want you to keep in mind that sometimes organizations will require you to build the PPT in their set layout and in their set processes and formats. Okay. So the free versions of these tools, which we're going to discuss today, like Canva, for example, um, will not allow you to maintain brand kits. Okay. So you might want to consider taking the paid version of Canva Premium for adding your brand kit, which is like a font or a logo or something, right? But nevertheless, you will still have like a lot to take away from today's class because we are going to cover elements beyond designing, okay, such as research and notes creation. So just be mindful of that. Sometimes companies have in-house tools to do it. Sometimes they allow you to use other public sources of AI tools, but they may not have a brand kit part of it available freely. So up to you whether or not you want to use that. So let's quickly jump into stage 1, which is your research and messaging part of it, content creation part of it. And we're going to use Perplexity, Gemini, and GPT for that. Okay. So let's quickly jump into the tool deep dives. The prompt we are going to use today is act as an expert AI management consultant, help create content for a 5 slide pitch deck to reduce churn in e commerce using AI for Amazon India. Use research papers, blogs, articles available on the internet for facts. Cite the sources, keep them credible. Follow the pyramid principle. Keep slide title as a so what instead of a boring caption. Don't add too much text or make it wordy, okay? Awesome. So we have our prompt here. Don't worry about it. The prompts will be shared with you after today's class. So you don't need to stress about, oh, let me quickly note down the prompt or something. You just need to sit back and watch today's session and understand what I'm doing so that you can replicate it. Okay. So this is our prompt for today, and we go to perplexity.ai as our first tool and paste this. Okay. And then I click on enter. Okay. So Perplexity, I really like Perplexity as a tool when it comes to um like properly data backed research. Perplexity is really good when it comes to citing credible sources and substituting your basic Google search today. Okay. So look here, Perplexity has done a lot of work for you. It has created an outline for a 5 slide pitch deck for Amazon India, right? And they've kept the slide titles also as so what and everything. And they have given you the the sources as well. Okay. They have cited the sources as well. You can literally click on any of these sources and go to the exact line where something like that is written. Okay, you can actually click on any of these sources and check whether actually that website is talking about this or not. Okay, so really like this part about Perplexity. Why don't we try the same thing out on Gemini by Google? Okay, we're going to try out the same prompt on Gemini to see if Gemini is giving us a better output or not. Okay, so let's also try this on Gemini, but Perplexity has given us a good enough output with first telling the problem statement, then telling how AI can predict, then telling the solution on hyper personalization, AI driven pricing, and about the results which you can measure. Okay, that is Perplexity's 5 slide outline for us. Coming to Gemini's outline, they have given a proper research plan. You can just click on start research. And because Gemini is doing deep research, you will see that a canvas sort of thing opens on the right side where it is doing thinking. Okay. And it's literally going to walk you through its thinking, that is going through so and so sources, so and so articles, and summarizing some of that content for you. Okay. Now, because Gemini is in its deep research mode right now, it might take more than a minute or two to give us the final output. So why don't I meanwhile, if it's okay with you guys, why don't I meanwhile paste the same prompt, okay, paste the same prompt into ChatGPT and see what ChatGPT has to say while Gemini is loading for us, okay? So yeah, so we have GPT doing this. It's again going through some up-to-date sources and it's searching for some really good insights for us. I already like the output that Perplexity has given to us. So that's a good part of it. But let's see what GPT also has to say. Okay. Usually don't just go with what one AI tool is telling you. Try to see content from at least 2 to 3 tools and compare what insights you actually want to put in your final PPT. Okay. Of course, you can use Copilot. Some of you are asking me about Copilot. You can use that as well. There's a bunch of tools available out there. Okay. I'm not saying these are the only tools you should use, but for the sake of today's class, there's only a limited number of tools we can cover in each stage. So that is why we are focusing on these three, which I usually use. You can, of course, use Copilot for this. Okay, so now in a minute, GPT has given us really nice output on a very nice caption, the way I taught you folks, okay, with the executive insight. And it has given like proper credible backed examples and everything about how retention is needed, how one should predict churn before it happens, how the next best action is going to beat your blanket discount. So you should target only a certain part of the audience and fix the actual churn triggers real time. And then the last slide, they're going to talk about the action plan, which is the 6 month path to impact at Amazon India. Okay. So they've made it in such a manner, all right. Now, let's see if Gemini's output is ready. Okay, Gemini is still thinking. Now, by the way, folks, by the way, we use Perplexity here, right? And I want to tell you a hack where you can get Perplexity Pro for free. Okay. So you can actually get Perplexity Pro for free. And if you want to know it, like just type in a hack in the chat box. And I'm sure a lot of you already know it. Okay. I know a lot of you already know how you can get Perplexity Pro for free. But if you type in a hack, I'll tell you now. So some of you already know it, and I know you're putting it in the chat box. But if you are an Airtel user, and this is not a paid promotion, okay, this is just something I want you as my learners and my co-learners actually to be knowing about. Like it's not a paid promotion, okay, just a disclaimer. You can actually, if you're an Airtel user, you can um, you can just go to your My Airtel app or something it's called, right? And you can get up to 300 AI powered searches in a day without any credit card details that you need to enter or without any auto renewal or anything. So all Airtel India users and specifically Airtel India users are going to get Perplexity Pro for free for a year. The subscription costs about 17,000 rupees or something, I believe, but it's free for a year. Okay. So you can go to the Airtel Thanks app. Like if you can just see here, you'll find it here. Don't worry, I'm going to give it to you in your session notes also. So even if you forget it, you will find it here. And you can do this. I have subscribed to this since like, why not, you know? So sure. Just one second. Yes. So, okay, Gemini is still loading, but you see that largely we got some sort of content output from Perplexity and GPT, right? So, which one do you like better? Do you like the Perplexity content better, or do you folks like the GPT content better? We're going to use with whatever the majority says here. For the next part of creating the PPT, which content do you want me to use? Perplexity's output or GPT's output? You can type it in the chat box. Okay, just one second. Yeah, let me see the chat box. Perplexity. Okay, majority of you are saying perplexity. Let's just go with that. No issues at all. Okay, so since most of you have said perplexity, let's move on to the second part of today's session, which is stage two of designing the thing. And like, you know, you remember those days back in college? I was just thinking about this. In school and college, when we just newly got Google and everything, like the web search, and we would spend hours and hours, at least I was one of those. I would spend hours on Google search doing research on a particular topic, and after going through like 5 pages of Google, you would get probably 2 pages worth of content. And just want to like take a moment and thank how much AI has simplified our lives, okay, especially with tools like GPT and all. So in the second stage, of course, we're going to talk about the visual part of it. We're going to cover tools like Gamma, Canva, and Napkin. Um, I typically like to start with Gamma. Okay, it gives me very quick slides, auto-generated, of course. And then I'm going to move to Canva. Canva, we can use Gamma's output to edit it in Canva, or we can even generate a slide from scratch in Canva. And I'm also going to teach you a tool called Napkin, where you can create infographics and visuals and mind maps and charts very quickly on Napkin. Okay. So I know that some of us are very good visual designers, but most of us might not be. Okay. But don't worry, after today's session, we are gonna learn a lot of this, like the visual part of it. Okay. Awesome. So what is our next prompt gonna be? We go to this tool called gamma.app. Okay, this is our next tool, gamma.app. This is how the interface looks. You get about, I think, 400 credits for free. And every time you create a gamma, it consumes about 40, 50 odd credits. So I only have about 70 left, but that's okay. I think it'll suffice for creating one PPT to show you folks. All right. So before we move on to Gamma, I want you to just know that there is something called a themes feature on Gamma. And remember that time when I told you when you can use custom brand templates and your brand kits in some of the paid versions of these apps. So, Gamma's themes, if you go to Gamma and then you go to themes, you can actually import a theme where you can import a brand template like, the colors and the fonts and the logos of your brand. And it can like use that theme to build your rest of your Gammas, and you can customize your Gamma that way. That's something to be mindful of if you want to build it in a brand kit or a brand template. For now, I'm just going to keep it generic, and we're going to go to create with AI. Okay. Then we get such a screen. There are three options available. You can either paste your notes, which you generate from, let's say, another AI tool. You can generate paste your notes here and generate the Gamma. The second part is where you generate the Gamma from scratch using a prompt in the Gamma chat box, the Gamma prompt window. And the third part is where you import an existing file or an existing URL or an existing doc, and then you enhance it. Okay. For example, you might already have a company presentation ready and you just want to make some quick edits using Gamma. So you can do that in the third option. For our use case today, uh, we are gonna do paste in text because we already have an outline from Perplexity, which we're gonna use. So we're gonna click on paste in text. And what are we gonna create? We're gonna create a presentation in a default page style, and we can paste our content here. Okay, we can paste our content here, but instead of pasting our content here and then giving it guidelines on how we want our PPT to look, what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to ask GPT itself to make the prompt for me, okay? Or maybe ask Perplexity to make the prompt for me. What am I going to do? I'm going to say, hey, Perplexity, I want to create a PPT with the output you have given to me on Gamma, okay? The free version of Gamma. Help me draft a prompt to explain better to Gamma, okay? Help me talk to Gamma. Act as a McKinsey AI consultant, prepare a 5, 6 slides, pitch deck, etc., etc. Okay. So I literally tell Perplexity that can you please create a Gamma ready prompt for me so that I don't have to talk to Gamma. Okay. And I want you to create the prompt basis the research output that you have given to me. Okay. So now Perplexity has very nicely done this. Okay. And I'm going to copy the prompt that Perplexity has given to me. Okay. I copy the prompt that Perplexity has given to me and go to Gamma screen. Okay. I paste the prompt over here, but that's not enough, right? I need to paste the text part, the content part of it as well. So let me copy the text part, which I got, the research part of it, and also go to Gamma. And this is my